ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्रचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः विशृणुयामदेवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेमदेवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो हरिष्ठनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। Verse 6. प्रभवः सर्वभावानां सतामिति विनिश्चयः सर्वं जनयति प्राणः चेतोंशुं पुरुषः पृथक्. Page 40. The first line in Bhashyam. Nahi niraspadaha rajju sarpa mruga trishnikadayah kvachid upalabhyante kenachit yatha rajvam prak sarpotpatte he rajvatmana sarpah sanneva asit evam sarvabhavanam utpattehe prak prāṇa-bījātmana eva sattvam इत्यतः श्रुतिः अपि वक्ति ब्रह्म एव इदं सर्वं आत्मा एव इदमग्र आसीत् इति. So this creation has been narrated here. It's a third Pāda of the Atma, that is the Ishvara, therefore which is the cause of the creation. And therefore the main two other philosophies have been taken into. Astikas only, who believes Astika will talk about this Ishvara etc., which is a cause of the creation. Astikas basically are taking Veda as a pramāṇa. And of course here pramāṇam differs. How much do you trust a means of knowledge? That really varies actually. Therefore, these Nāyāyikas, etc., they are mainly Tarkikas, Nāyāyikas, Sankhyas, Vaisheshikas, and Yoga people. Bhashyakara calls them Tarkika, not Vaidika. Vaidika means Veda is a means of knowledge, and tarka is a subordinate to that. Tarka is a pramāṇa, reasoning is required. Human being is endowed with two things: free will, reasoning. Two things. Free will is there and reasoning is there. All the growth other than the physical growth in a human being is based on these two things. Further growth, emotional growth, etc. Cognitive. Anyway, so this creation, so these four have been taken into account. What do they say about creation? Well, creation, karyam is there. Karanam also is there. Naturally. But then this Nāyāyikas etc., they don't accept the creation has any specific cause. Because creation basically, is a Satkarya. Creation it's a Karyam is independent of Karanam, they say. If Karyam is independent of the Karanam, then anything can become Karanam. Why a particular thing is a cause for the particular thing? We gave example, Vandhyaputra, etc. The creation itself is not possible. Like the son of a barren woman is not possible. Because if barren woman cannot become the cause for the son, then then why at all there is a son? Anyway, so that we'll leave it now. And then there is another Satkāryavāda that has been answered in this Bhashyam. So, Satkāryavāda means, they say effect is present in the cause. Really speaking, cause and effect are not independent. Cause only has two states. Earlier it is in a one state we called cause. Now its state has changed. Therefore, we call a effect. And what you do, Vyavara, with the effect is not available, that kind of a Vyavara is not available with the Karana, the cause. They give example. Like milk and curd, they also take the other example, and that is gold and ornaments, or clay and pot. Well, what transactions you do with the cause, the clay, you don't do that transaction with the pot. Pot means you fill up water, which you don't do here with the cause clay. Ornaments, well, you do have a one different type of transaction. You buy and wear it depending upon the type of ornament. That you don't do with the gold bar. You don't do. Therefore, cause and effect, even though they are not independent to each other, but definitely they are different. In terms of a different, the cause itself has modified into effect. Therefore, it's a new thing in that sense. This Asatkaryavadi says cause and effect are independent of each other, no connection at all. These people say now cause modifies into effect. Therefore, effect is present potentially in the cause. Because the cause itself modifies into this effect, therefore effect must have been present in that cause. And that state is a potential state. So this is Satkaryavada. And this, most of the people believe in Satkaryavada. In fact, these examples we take, clay pot and gold clay, etc. Gold ornaments, etc. We take these examples. But we say, what is the thing which has changed between gold and ornament? That's what we are asking them. What is the thing which has really changed between a clay and pot? You tell us. Really the cause has undergone modification, or a form of a cause has undergone a modification to give rise to a new form of the same thing? In that case, the cause, substance, has not undergone any change. Substance appears with a new form, which you call pot. Substance was there in a form of a lump. That same substance appears as now with a new form called pot. Substantial difference is not there. Then you can say the substance remaining the same appears as a pot. Clay remaining the same appears as what? Mithya-Kāryavāda. So, if there is a milk and curd is another example. There is a difference. Yeah, that's true. But here, the difference is in terms of a change of a form. And form basically has no connection to the substance. That form is available with something else also. that particular pot form of a clay, that form is available with the brass and with the copper and with the plastic and with the gold and with the silver and everything. Same form. So it's simply a appearance of a form which that form has a certain usage also, but it is seemingly there. It has seeming existence. We don't say there is no pot. We don't say that there is no pot. We say pot is different from existent and also different from non-existent, which is called seemingly existent. It's an appearance. Experientially it is there, etc. And you may have a different usage of that form. Definitely, depending upon the form, you will have a usage. But it doesn't prove the reality. Really speaking, clay has not modified into pot. Therefore, we say this, since the pot itself is an appearance, you can say that that unreal pot was existent in a clay, but in a same unreal manner. Satkāryavāda says the pot is real because clay modified into pot. Therefore, the pot was existent in a clay, but not unreal. Really, potentially there. That thing now, since the clay modifies into pot, definitely they call Satkāryavāda, modification, has undergone modification. So we say it is unreal pot, exist potentially in the cause, in the clay, which is unreal. And here Bhashakara gives example, nahi niraspadaha niraspadaha rajju sarpa mrigatrushnikādayah kvachid upalabhyante kenachit. So this rope snake, he added another example also, rope snake and mrigatrushnika, mirage-water, etc. They cannot exist without niraspadaha, without adhisthana. They are not experienced, na upalabhyante. So niraspadaha rajju sarpa mrigatrushnikādayah upalabhyante. We don't experience a rope snake on mirage water, etc., without its adhishthanam, which lends a existence to them. Upalabhyante. Kvachit. Kvachit means sometimes. Na kvachit. Na, which is there in the beginning of the sentence, you put it there. So, niraspadaha rajju sarva mrigatrushnikādayah na kvachit kenachit upalabhyante. So, na kvachit means sometimes, occasionally. Na kvachit, never. Never they are experienced without adhisthana, rope snake or etc. Kenachit, by anybody. That's a passive voice. Upalabhyante. Kenachit upalabhyante. So here this niraspadaha, niraspadaha is, of course, you can remove that. Rajju sarpa mrigatrushnikādayah becomes a subject, and they are not experienced. They are never experienced by anybody without adhisthana, niraspadaha. Yatha rajvam prak sarpotpattehe rajvatmana sarpa sanneva asit. And therefore rajvam, in that rajju, in that unknown rajju, which is a mixture of ignorance, the ignorance which you cannot say it is not there, the ignorance which you cannot say it is there, such a kind of ignorance which definitely enjoys a less reality compared to the rajju, which is its adhishthanam. Therefore, this mixture is a satyamithya mixture. The very ignorance of the rope itself is anirvachaniyam, and such a unknown rope becomes a adhishthanam for this sarpa, etc. So, sarpa utpattehe. So, rajvam prak sarpa utpattehe. Before the sarpa arises, originates in that unknown rope. Rajvatmana sarpahasana asit. As unknown rope, the snake was there. So that snake, which is projected snake, etc., which is now manifest, experienced, was potentially, as a vyakta, unmanifest, potentially, was there in that unknown rope. Rather than saying, somebody we can tell rope itself, why unknown rope? Rope cannot become a rope cannot become a cause for ultimately this kind of a snake. So therefore ignorance is there. So we have to take unknown rope. Sarpa sanneva asid, that sarpa potentially was there. Unreal snake, which you right now see, right? You are seeing a snake which is unreal, of course. That snake was present potentially in that unknown room. To be honest, it is potentially there as the very ignorance. The ignorance is called potential snake. Yeah. And that ignorance has adhishthanam in Rajju. Definitely. So unmanifest snake, potential snake ultimately remains where? You can say in Rajju. You can compare what our principles of the Vedanta is there. All this thing which you experience, which is unreal, was potentially there as the very Maya, which is Adhishthanam in Brahman. San eva asit evam sarvabhavanam utpattehe prana bijatmana eva sattvam. So prana bijatmana is a Ishvara. All sarvabhavanam, all these bhavas, sentient, insentient beings, pragutpattehe, before its origination, before the creation, utpattehe prag means before. Prana bijatmana, in the form of Ishvara alone, prana bijatmana sattvam was there. Ityatah Shruti, therefore Shruti api vakti Brahma eva idam sarvam Atma eva idam agra asit, etc., etc. And therefore Shruti api vakti means Shruti also declares Brahma eva idam sarvam, all that is there. If all this thing was potentially there as in Ishvara, then we can say Ishvara alone manifest in the form of everything, in the form of Jagat. Ishvara eva Kāraṇam Brahma. Idam sarvam, in the form of this universe, entire universe. So you say now Brahman means Ishvara. If you find a difference between Brahma and Ishvara, if anyone says Brahma and Ishvara are different entities, then Vedanta is not really percolated into the person. Yeah. So therefore, Bhashyakara interchanges also. We say third Pāda Ishvara. Bhashyakara says Brahma eva idam agram sarva. Because this Maya, etc., which is non-separate from Brahman. So this Maya is something which is anirvachaniyam, which is going to come. He is going to give an example of a magic show and etc. We will see that. So idam sarvam, all that is there is Brahman alone, is the Ishvara alone. Ishvara is the Kāraṇa. And also Atma eva idam agra asit. This statement is there in Aitareya. This statement is there in Brahman Upanishad. This statement is there in the Mundaka also, 2.2.11. It is there. It's all nearly same. Atma well is again a Kāraṇa-śarīra. There Brahman is said, here Atma is said. Same. Kāraṇa-śarīra well is Atma eva idam agra asit. There was no universe separate from Atma. There was no universe separate from Ishvara. There was no universe separate from Brahman. And other example, of course, which you can really, take it, and that is yourself is a Ishvara for the entire creation. That is a dream creation. You are the cause for that. You are the nimitta karana. You are the upadana karana also. So that way we are different now. In Sankhya, Ishvara is, in Sankhya, Nāyāyika, etc. You take it, Sankhya is Nirishvara, but they say they believe in Ishvara also. Anyway, So let us say Sankhya, Yoga and Nāyāyika, Vaisheshika all say Ishvara is a Nimitta Karana. Upadana Karanam is different. For Yoga and Sankhyas it is Prakriti. For Nāyāyika, Vaisheshikas, pramāṇa. Then further, the second line now is being explained. Sarvam janayati, the fourth line in 48th page. Sarvam janayati prāṇah chetomshum amshavaha iva ravehe chidatmakasya purushasya chetorūpaha jalarkasamaha prāඥ-taijasa vishvabhedena Deva tiryagadi deha bhedeshu vibhavyamanaha chetomshavaha ye. There you put a full stop. Tan purushaha pruthak vishaya bhava vilakshanan agni visfulingavat salakshanan jalarkavaccha jiva lakshanan comma tu इतरान सर्वभावान प्राणः बीजात्मना जनयति यथोर्णनाभिः यथा अग्नेः क्षुद्राः विस्फुलिंगाः इत्यादि श्रुतेः. Yeah. So सर्वं जनयति प्राणः. In a Karika second line you see that सर्वं जनयति प्राणः. So Bhashyakara quotes that, writes first that I am going to explain this. Sarvam, so Bhashyakara starts like that. Sarvam janayati prana. But then instead of explaining that, he has explained that fourth quarter. Chetom shun purushaha pruthak janayati. First he explains that. And then again he takes that sarvam janayati prana. Anyway. So here it says sarvam janayati. So that part we'll keep it because it is coming in Bhashyam. So chetom shun purushaha pruthak janayati. We have already seen that Ishvara is a mixture of Satya and Mithya. So from the Mithya part, the Mithya creation comes, all names and forms comes. And then the Chaitanya part, we have to say like that, okay? Mixture. So Chaitanya, Brahman, Purusha, that's what we use word Purusha. Basically janayati. Well, Purusha creates all jivas. Once the bodies are created, he lends Chidābhāsa to them. He is already pervading entire creation. He is pervading even this Maya. And therefore through Maya, whatever manifests, he pervades. Pervade. Because mithya. Mithya means definitely, when you say mithya, it's a mixture. Mixture of mithya satyam is mithya. Okay? And therefore, this is how we have to go. Never think. If you think the creation independent, gone. Whole concept of Vedanta is gone. As I already told you, anything, whatever you experience in a dream and in a waking state, it's a mixture. Only thing is not knowing what is apparent. The apparent is taken as real. Not knowing what is apparent, or not knowing what is real, let us say. Not knowing what is real. The apparent is taken as a real. That's the issue. That is the only issue. So anyway, and why not knowing what is Satyam? Well, because that's Atma Jnana. Anyway, Avarana is there. So here, Chetom Shun Purushaha Pruthak Janayati. So Ishvara, well, for Māyā-Prāṇa Īśvara, that's a word used by Swamiji, so I like it also. Māyā-Prāṇa Īśvara and Chaitanya-Prāṇa Īśvara. Ishvara is a mixture, Satya Mithya. Maya Mithya, Brahma, Purusha, Satya. Anyway, so Māyā-Prāṇa Īśvara creates. There are no amsha, please. Because to have anything which has an amsha cannot be called Purnamada Purnamidam. Purnam means there cannot be amsha. One whole. Anything which is whole cannot have a parts. Anything which has a parts can never be whole. Never be whole. Therefore, never think Maya part of Ishvara and Chaitanya part of Ishvara. And nothing. But we have to say like that. Ishvara itself is a mithya, satya mithya mixture. Or Ishvara is nothing but basically this, you superimposing this Maya upon Brahman. Then you get this mixture. Anyway, so Pruthak, distinctly, Chetomshun Purushaha Chetomshun Pruthak, distinctly generates, creates. And now that part is explained here. So Chetomshun, he says. Chetomshun means Amshaha, Amshu means a ray. Chetomshun, it's a Bahuvachanam here. Or Chetomshu, let us take Chetomshu. So Chetomshu means basically Amshu means a ray of consciousness. That's what it is. So ray of consciousness. Consciousness has been compared with a sun. Like a sun has several rays, right? Same way, this consciousness is having several rays. That's each jiva is called a ray of consciousness. Because consciousness manifests in the medium which has been created by the Maya. That is the subtle body and gross body. Consciousness pervades all the three bodies. Therefore, consciousness, pervades all the three bodies, and therefore when the Maya creates this gross and subtle, because Karana is always there, which is Anadi like Maya. Anyway, so then this subtle body is created, Māyā-Prāṇa Īśvara creates, and depending upon, so Māyā-Prāṇa Īśvara, that Ishvara creates a subtle body and gross body in keeping with the karmas and vasanas of the jiva which is there in the Kāraṇa-śarīra. So that's how creation is always basically a partnership between jiva and Ishvara. Like you create various people, just think that way. You create various people in a dream. You give them body, right? Gross, subtle. Because they are sentient beings. You are seeing all them as conscious beings. Therefore, you give them body. Thinking that in keeping with the karmas of those jivas which you have created. So this is how it is. You are Māyā-Prāṇa Īśvara. Your knowledge along with the consciousness you are becomes a cause for that. So your Maya, the knowledge which you have, creates the bodies in keeping with the karmas of those sentient beings in the dream. Same thing. Anyway, so Chetomshun. So these are, and always a best example for consciousness is sun. Because sun also is a self-shining, right? Its nature is of a light. Same way, consciousness also is self-shining, self-revealing, and it's also definitely compared with a sun. And so therefore jivas basically are reflected consciousness. I don't like actually that word, but let's take it. So when consciousness pervades, when also is not there. It's all the time pervaded, but consciousness pervades jiva. Consciousness pervades all Kāraṇa-śarīra. Let me take this way. Keep the notes which you have for a time being, keep it away. Consciousness, one consciousness, pervades Maya, Kāraṇa-śarīra. And as it pervades Kāraṇa-śarīra, there will be a reflection in a Kāraṇa-śarīra, which we call prajna. So that is how the jiva. So our consciousness pervades Maya, that is Ishvara. and same consciousness pervades a Kāraṇa-śarīra. Maya has not created Kāraṇa-śarīra, please understand. Basically, both are anadi. So consciousness pervades Maya, and that becomes a mixture. Ishvara, consciousness pervades Kāraṇa-śarīra, which is also beginningless, anadi. That is, so when consciousness pervades Kāraṇa-śarīra, there is, we call, reflection in that Kāraṇa-śarīra. That's a jiva. The Chidābhāsa is a jiva. So this is how, with these two upadhis, now you have two entities, so-called jiva and Ishvara. Then consciousness along with this Māyā-Prāṇa Īśvara, well, depending upon the karmas and vasanas of the jiva, prajna, gives a subtle body and gross body. Then the same prajna, the Chidābhāsa or Kāraṇa-śarīra Viṣiṣṭha Chaitanya, that Chidābhāsa which is there in the Kāraṇa-śarīra, since now it gets a subtle body and gross body, that Chidābhāsa which is unmanifest becomes manifest in a subtle body and gross body later. So this is how, now this is called a creation of a jiva. Creation of a jiva means basically getting a subtle and gross, both they have to get, depending upon karma, because merely subtle body you cannot enjoy, you cannot experience prarabdha. So with the subtle body and gross body, appropriate should be given. Therefore the Kāraṇa-śarīra Viṣiṣṭha Chaitanyam, or Chaitanya which pervades Kāraṇa-śarīra, and therefore that's called Chidābhāsa. That Chidābhāsa which is unmanifest in a pralaya gets manifest in a subtle body. And now it becomes manifest subtle body. Manifest, Sukshma Sharira has a Chidābhāsa, and gross also gets it through Sukshma Sharira. So sentient subtle body makes gross body also sentient. So therefore Chidābhāsa pervades even gross body. That's how prajna becomes Tejasa and Hiranya. Tejasa and Vishwa. That's what he is going to say also. Anyway, so this is how the creation takes place. So they say this Purushaha, so Chaitanya Pradhana Ishvara, well, generates, janayati, what? Chetom Shun Jiva. So ray of, that creates a Chidābhāsa. That creation also, as I told you, there is no creation of Chidābhāsa, please believe me. Because if you say creation of a Chidābhāsa means creation of a jiva, then jivas are not anadi. If jivas are anadi, then definitely it is not, then Kāraṇa-śarīra also cannot be called anadi, right? And therefore it is not like that. So created jivas means they have been given subtle body and gross body in keeping with the karmas and vasanas which is present in the repository called Kāraṇa-śarīra. That's it. That's how you have to keep it in mind. Anyway, so Chidābhāsa, so Chetomshun Amshaha Iva Ravehe. He says, why Amshun Karika has used to explain. Amshaha Iva Ravehe. Ravehe Amshaha Iva. Just as the sun has a rays, the same way this consciousness also, and the rays of the consciousness also are called, which are called Chidābhāsa. Chidatmakasya Purushasya Cheto Rupaha. So Chaitanya Pradhana Īśvara, definitely Chidatmakasya, which is of the nature of consciousness, Purushasya Cheto Rupaha, Chidābhāsa Rupaha. And he gives example, Jalarka Samaha. Jala Arka Samaha. Arka means sun. The sun, reflected sun, equal to. Samaha means Tulyaha. So these Chidābhāsas of the jiva, this Chidābhāsa, where they are formed in that subtle body and gross body, formed means manifested. And even you can say Kāraṇa-śarīra, let's take it that way, which has manifested in the Kāraṇa-śarīra, Sukshma Sharīra, Sthula Sharīra. So they are Jalarka Samaha. they are like the reflections of the sun in a water. Instead of water here, we can take bodies. And therefore now what will be the thing? Prajna Taijasa Vishwa Bhedena Deva Tiryaga Dehadi Bhedeshu Vibhavyamanaha. And therefore now they appear, they are experienceable as what? Vishwa Taijasa Prajna. So Vishwa Taijasa Prajna Bhedena. And not only in the human being, Deva Tiryaga Adi Deha Bhedeshu. In others also this variety. Veda here means variety. So Vishwa Taijasa Prajna not only in the human body, they are also there in a Deva, in the celestial beings, celestial bodies, and then Tiryag. Tiryag means our other animals, etc. Tiryaga Adi Padat, you can take other things. So, and the birds and other things. So Deha Bhedeshu. In the varieties of the mediums, so all these bodies, not only just human body. So they are all nothing but, these jivas are nothing but a Chidābhāsa, well, which have been formed in these bodies. These bodies have been created by Māyā-Prāṇa Īśvara, except at Kāraṇa-śarīra. Deha Vedeshu Vibhavyamanaha, they appear as all this entire creation, all sentient beings. Vibhavyamanaha Chetom Shavaha. Ye Chetom Shavaha, they are this Chidābhāsas. Purushaha, Chaitanya Pradhana Ishvara basically has created these sentient beings, jivas, by lending Chidābhāsa, etc. Tan. Why Tan? Because Chetom Shun, right? Tan Janayati we have to say. So Chetom Shavaha means what? That he explained. Whole thing. They are the rays of consciousness. Like this, like sun, etc. They're, reflected in all that. Sun has a rays and get reflected in the water, and there will be a reflected suns. There are as many mediums and all that. You have to take it. So varieties of the mediums are there. Therefore, while the rays of the sun will get reflected in various waters, so all this many Chidābhāsas are there. Many reflected suns are there. Same way. Only there is one sun, but then reflections are many. Same way, one consciousness, Purusha, well, definitely gets reflected into all these mediums, bodies, varieties of the bodies. And why varieties of the bodies? Well, because of the varieties of the Kāraṇa-śarīra. Why this variety of the Kāraṇa-śarīra give varieties of the bodies? Because that's how the Kāraṇa-śarīra has all these karmas and vasanas. They only are there. That's a repository for that. And so they get different jivas get different bodies, and the Chidābhāsa definitely manifest there. Chidābhāsa is already pervaded as in a Kāraṇa-śarīra of each jiva. That jiva itself basically is a Kāraṇa-śarīra viśuddha Chaitanya alone. That Upadi alone. So anyway, Tan means that a Chetom Shun Purushaha Janayati. You can supply Janayati there itself. The Janayati is already there at the end of the sentence. So Tan Chetom Shun Purushaha Janayati. There it is there. That's a basic sentence. Pruthak Janayati. Karika says. So Pruthak means what? Vishaya Bhava Vilakshana. So this various this Chaitanya Pradhana Ishvara basically Pruthak Janayati, distinctly creates, and these jivas are different from something. Pruthak means distinct. They are distinct from what? Vishaya Bhava Vilakshanan. They are Chetom Shun Vishaya Bhava Vilakshanan. So these jivas, these Chidābhāsas, which have been created by this Chaitanya Pradhana Ishvara, well, they are distinct. Vilakshanan. They are distinct. This is a Visheshana for the Chetom Shun. Vishaya Bhava Vilakshanan. They are distinct from Vishaya Bhava. Vishaya Bhavat Vilakshanaha, Vishaya Bhava Vilakshanaha Tan. So they are distinct from insentient objects of the universe. Vishaya bhava means insentient objects. Which are these insentient things have been created by whom? That's a Māyā-Prāṇa Īśvara. Bodies. That's inert, created from elements, etc. So Vishaya bhava vilakshanan. So he wants to show how Ishvara creates. Ishvara creates various mediums, bodies, inert objects as a Māyā-Prāṇa Īśvara. Same Ishvara creates jiva also as pervading all Kāraṇa-śarīras and forming Chidābhāsa there. And that Purusha is basically, so Chaitanya Pradhana means Purusha, etc. And Prāṇaha means you can say Māyā-Prāṇa Īśvara. Māyā-Prāṇa Īśvara creates bodies, which is insentient. And Purusha is Chaitanya Pradhana Ishvara that creates Chidābhāsa. So this is how the Ishvara becomes a cause. Cause for what? Everything. Ishvara is a nimitta karana. Ishvara is a upadana karana. So Vishaya bhava vilakshanan. Then he gives example for that. Agni visphulingavat salakshanan. Salakshanat, samana lakshana. Same nature. So like he says, he compares the Chidābhāsa and Purusha. Chaitanya Pradhana Ishvara. So he compares that. Chidābhāsa and this Purusha, well, both have a same nature. And he gives that example. Agni visphulinga vat. Vat means it is like that. Vat means like. Example. Salakshanan. Just as the sparks originating from fire have got a similar nature to the fire, same way these jivas, the Chidābhāsas, will have a same nature of that of Purusha. Same thing. So that's because the Visphulinga, the sparks will definitely have a heat and fire, heat and light. Fire also has a heat and light. So the Visphulingas which have emerged from the fire has the same nature. Same way from the Purusha all these Chidābhāsas have come, the rays of Purusha, rays of consciousness. They will also have a sentience, they are conscious. So Salakshanan means samanam lakshanam yeshante. Salakshanaha tan. Sa stands for samana. So Agni visphulingavat salakshanan. One example. And then second example also he says. Jalarka vaccha salakshanan. Jalarka means that reflected sun. So reflected sun also is like that original sun. Naturally. It's also able to illumine what is there in the front, a wall or anything. The reflected sun in the water also is able to illumine. Like the original sun illumines, he is also able to illumine. So like that. Salakshana. So it says here Jalarka vaccha salakshanan. So just as the reflected sun is like the original sun, salakshana same thing. Similar to the cause, whereas the inert sense objects are all definitely are in that body, whatever the Chidābhāsas are formed, also have a same lakshana. That's called jiva lakshana. So Jalarka vaccha jiva lakshanan janayati. So this is what, this much is a definition, this much is a commentary on that fourth Pāda. Purushaha pruthak chetom shun janayati. This much is covered. Now sarvam janayati prana. That part will come. Somehow he mentioned first, but commented upon that later. Tu, whereas itaran, other than that, other than those jivas, Chidābhāsas, itaran sarva bhavan. What is other than that? All insentient things, bodies and other things. Right? Bodies. Just bodies. No, whole creation. bodies are created, well, ultimately, well, he wants to enter there as a Chidābhāsa. So, the Jiva, that is for Jivas. But ultimately, why the bodies have been given? So that they can exhaust prarabdha. How will they can exhaust prarabdha? When they interact with the world. So definitely he has to create a bhogya prapancha also for the jivas. So jivas will be given bodies, that's fine. But if jivas are given body and now jivas are, are ready to enjoy prarabdha, but if world is not there, how will they experience sukha dukkha, etc.? So that is also to be created. That is the job of a Māyā-Prāṇa Īśvara. To create insentient world, to create insentient bodies, in which now then Chidābhāsa will manifest. So this is how it is. Could you follow now? This is how the whole creation is. Ishvara creates bodies. Ishvara creates the insentient world, including the bodies. Never count Kāraṇa-śarīra, okay? So, creates this subtle and gross in keeping with the Kāraṇa-śarīra, which is the upadhi for the jiva. He creates. So, whole world is created for all the jivas. They will experience the world and accordingly they will have a sukha dukkha both. Same world. Sometime one object becomes a cause for a joy for one person. The same object becomes a cause for a sorrow for the other person. So that is how it is. So that shows, the world basically should be created. So the sarvam pranam, so sarva bhavan, anyway, itaran sarva bhavan. So that insentient things, like exactly, they are pranaha. Pranaha means that bijatma. I am not going now. We had a discussion and a discussion and discussion and discussion. Prana is ultimately prajna and Ishvara. We discuss so much. Therefore, I am living now. Prana means bijatma. Bijatma means this Ishvara, which is a bija cause for the creation. Janayati creates. Anyway, and he gives example. Yatha urnanabihi srujate grünnate cha. So anyway, urnanabi, the spider creates the web out of himself. He is nimitta karana upadanaka. And also, yatha agnehe kshudraha vispulingaha. Now, of course, this yathornanabi srujate grünnate cha, etc. is a 117. And this Vispulinga example also is there in the Mundaka-Upanishad 2.2.2. But that is that, tadetat satyam yatha sudittat pavakat Vispulingaha, etc., is in Mundaka-Upanishad. But he doesn't take from there. Same example appears in a Vedāntic Upanishad. Yatha agnehe kshudraha Vispulingaha. Kshudraha. Chidābhāsas are kshudra. They are just insignificant. What is here, right? So Chidābhāsa, even though of the same nature, like a Vispulinga, the spark is also heat and light. Agni also has a heat and light. But this spark is insignificant, kshudra. Same way here. Chidābhāsas are kshudra. They don't have independent existence at all. No Chidābhāsa can exist independent of the Chaitanya. No reflected sun can exist without sun. So as the sun sets, reflections are gone, all gone. Same thing. So jiva is mithya, I mean. Yatha agnehe kshudraha vispulingaha. Same, that example I have taken. So, and this yathorna nabi also appears in a Vedāntic Upanishad, like this agnihi vispulinga, etc. in the 2.120. That mantra in Vedāntic Upanishad also has example of a Vispulinga, etc. also. Of the Urnanabi also. I'm sorry. Anyway, so ultimately, Ishvara is a Jagat Karanam. Ishvara, which is a mixture of a Mithya Maya and Satyam Brahma, right? Or Ishvara, which is a mixture of Prana and Purusha, okay? Prana and Purusha, well, creates through Prana, well, he creates the entire insentient world, physical world, subtle world, etc. So, Sthula Sukshma Prapancha creates through Maya, and well, as a Brahman, well, Purusha, he creates a Jiva, pervading all the insentient things. Swamiji, what about, somebody asked me, what is, Swamiji, what is, you said subtle body and gross body are elemental. Yeah, it's made up of subtle elements and gross elements. Then Kāraṇa-śarīra is elemental or not? Yeah. Kāraṇa-śarīra is this triguna. That's a malina-sattva. From the trigunam, you get elements. This is a basic thing. So, Maya and Kāraṇa-śarīra, well, both triguna. One is a viśuddha-sattva, one is a malina-sattva. So, it's a guna. So, out of the, well, definitely, gunas, there is a creation of a subtle elements and gross element later from the tamas aspect. Therefore, Kāraṇa-śarīra never say that it is elemental, etc., made up of elements. It's all made up of triguna also. You should not say, please, never say. Kāraṇa-śarīra has 3 gunas. That also you don't say. Just 3 gunas. That's it. Malina-sattva, because ultimately it is sattva, but well, can be affected by rajoguna and tamoguna, that upadi. Whereas viśuddha-sattva means, well, sattva is not affected by rajas and tamas. That is how we make a difference between Jiva and Ishvara. There is no difference. Only triguna is upadi. Triguna upadi, which is mithya, which is there in the Ishvara, you cannot say, which is not there, you cannot say, which is a part of Brahman, you cannot say, which is independent of Brahman, you cannot say. Where all these things are coming? In Vivek Chudamani. So, very beautiful. Bhinnapya ubhayatmikano, sannapya ubhayatmikano, etc., etc., etc. While talking about a Kāraṇa-śarīra in a Vivek Chudamani, Bhashyakara jumps from Kāraṇa-śarīra to Maya. Same thing. He doesn't see any difference because in an unmanifest state, there is no difference. How can you say in an unmanifest there is no difference between Vyashti Upadi and Samashti Upadi? That is what you experience when Kāraṇa-śarīra is predominant in a deep sleep state. What you experience in a deep sleep state is blankness. Do you see any difference there? Just blankness. You don't experience anything. Forget about a Vyashti and Samashti. You don't experience anything. Neither your body, neither your mind, neither your senses, neither your prana, neither the world. You don't experience anything. That's an unmanifest state which is never available for experience, is unmanifest. Yeah. Therefore, Bhashyakara says, Karya-anumeya. From the Karyam you have to think. Right? The world is there? Yeah. Then it must have been there potentially there. The world is unreal, therefore this potential world also must be unreal. Maya is unreal. So that's a Karya-anumeya. That has been inferred there. And then if it is there, then what is the relationship between Maya and Brahman? There all this discussion, sannapya, ubhayatmikano, bhinnapya, you cannot say it is distinct, indifferent, you cannot say it is non-different. If non-different means totally non-separate, means Brahman and Maya are totally identical. You cannot say that. Brahman and Maya are identical. Maya is Trigunam, Maya is Trigunam, Brahman is Nirgunam. Brahman cannot create anything. Maya creates everything. And therefore all this bhinnapya, bhinna, abhinna, bhinna, You can't say anything. Anirvachani. That's what he is going to say now in this next, that we will keep mum. Keep mum. Why? Regarding creation you don't want to speak anything, because we are going to do a Pāda. There is no creation other than what you experience. That's it. Other than what you experience, no more substantiality. That's it. So that's what he says now in the 7th Karika, that other people say something for which we really we keep mum. Vibhutim prasavam tvanye manyante srushti-chintakaah sapnamaya sarupeti srushtir anyair vipakvikalpita. Real Mandukya begins now. This is how the creation is. The taste of Mandukya will begin now. So different philosophers basically, analyze this creation and they give their opinion, etc. So far as Vedanta is concerned, well, we don't spend too much time in creation because even though we introduce creation ultimately to arrive at this Brahman, because Brahman is not available directly for objectification, and therefore to arrive at this Brahman as the very cause and to understand its nature, we introduce this creation which we experience. Therefore there is no question of saying directly all that is Brahman. People say, well, I see you, Swami. I don't see Brahman. No. There is no Swami at all. There is Brahman. Then people will just walk away, right? People just walk away. What you experience should be taken into account. Analyzing the experience, ultimately you understand the reality, that's a different thing. But you have to take it into account, whatever you experience. The wakings, the 3 states and etc. And you experience yourself as a jiva, individual, all has to be taken into account, jiva, jagat, etc. And whatever the concept you have regarding Ishvara also. So all things have to be addressed properly. And therefore, we introduce creation and ultimately say, the cause is Brahman and the creation is mithya, because all that is pervaded by this asti-bhati priyam, etc. So there is no independent creation other than the observer. Honestly, observer means don't think that this ahankara, other than the observer, that unchanging observer. Please remember, I told you already, unchanging knower, the sakshi. You cannot. That's how I gave you example last time, that I cannot prove my existence to you if I don't speak, etc. Well, you only are the one who proves existence of me. You, the observer, the knower, through your means of knowledge, proves my existence. So you, the basically unchanging knower, which is called witness consciousness, through means of knowledge, prove the existence. Therefore, there is no independent existence of the creation other than the observer. That's what, science now is in quantum physics, etc. They are telling now, who got some Nobel Prize in 2022. He said this, the creation is funny. Depending upon the observer, it changes. So as though it doesn't have any reality. The reality is remaining with the observer. That's what they have observed in physics. The Nobel laureate, etc. in 2022. Anyway, we don't want their support. But they also felt that this creation is not real. As it looks, it is not real. That's what now they are saying. That's true. The the existence of the entire observed world is dependent upon the observer. That's it. Anyway, and so for us, we don't give too much time with this creation. But then there are others, definitely, they give a lot of time, they spend a lot of time and energy for that. And we don't give too much importance, because the first reason is the creation is logically uncategorizable. You cannot say creation means there is a reality in creation. You cannot say there is no creation, because you experience also. And therefore, I gave you examples so many times that blue ocean you cannot put in any category, any logical category. Whether blue ocean exists or not, you cannot say. No, Swamiji, there is no blue ocean. Where is blue ocean? But you experience. In fact, it's popular in a language, blue ocean. Everyone experience. Billions of people standing on the shore. Billions of people think that way. Everyone will say it is a blue ocean. Yeah. So blue ocean is there? No. If it is not there, then no one will experience. If any non-existent thing will not be experienced. Like a horn on my head, all of you are there, all 12 people. All will say, no, there are no horns. But here it's different. Billions of people say, yes, there is a blue ocean. And therefore, there is a really blue ocean. Where is blue ocean? Fill up water in a bucket and bring it home, and we'll see. So this whole creation is not available for a logical category. Anything which is not available for logic, we will leave it there. There is no time and effort we should not spend in that. And the second thing is our acceptance of the creation. Even though we introduced in the Upanishad, our acceptance of the creation is temporary. We call adhyaropa prakranam, because we are going to negate it, apavada. If we are going to negate, why should we spend too much of time for that? And therefore, for us, it's altogether a different thing. But there are people, which he mentions here, they say the creation is like this and the creation is like that and like that. Anyway, let's go to Bhashyam. Oh, time is up. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Any other something?